Abigail.
Hello.
It's only been last year I talked to you
Yeah, exactly.
online.
And
Welcome to 2026.
yeah,
Uh,
starting the year of the horse. We
really?
finished the year
That's,
of the snake. So last year was the year of the snakes, where you shed everything that doesn't serve you. The Chinese calendar.
and now we're year of the horse.
The year of the horse is all about progress, advancement, innovation. You can't have the year of the horse unless you've had the year of the snake.
Really?
Yeah, because the year of the snake is where you just shed everything.
Well, it feels
That's
like the
holding you
world
back.
is. It feels like the world is not in my life, but is advancing at a rate of knots. So it's definitely year of the horse for like AI and robotics and all of that crap. It's like over the top fast, right?
Yeah, it's
But
insanely alarming.
as far as my life goes, it doesn't feel very horsey like.
Well, we're only on day 5, so.
Give it a chance.
So that was
Fast 4 out.
interesting. I wanted to ask you about that conversation you had last night about attachment styles.
Dive into something heavy right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat, that old chestnut, because that's been around a long time, the attachment
Yeah, it's funny
theory.
how you can not be in, like something. Oh yeah, you haven't seen that movie, or you haven't heard about that, and I'm like, oh, first time, mate. So yeah, I've got a couple of close friends that I'm working on being closer. So I'm like, friendships take effort, right? You have to put in the time, and for someone like you and me, probably we're quite happy to just plug away by ourselves. So anyway, I'm always pushing to get together, and so he's got a sauna on his property. So we said, let's do a sauna Friday night. And the two of those guys have both got brand new babies, so they're just bushed.
Right.
So we had we fired up the sauna. It was like Saturday evening, and had a nice hour in there, and then the second hour. In our circles here, everyone's always, if back in Vancouver, you would have a sauna and just talk about whatever, and that would be that. But here, it's in the circles I'm with, checking in from the heart is almost comes up on every time you get together.
Really?
Like, it gets always like, so what's going on? Like, check in. And sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes it's a lot, right? But it's very common in the circles that Tara and I are in that that's just a part of any gathering. So yeah, we were checking in, and I just checked in because I shared on the last podcast when I just did a solo one. I was just talking about New Year's resolutions, and I was talking about how I feel like my primary relationship is wanting. It's lacking. It's tired. It's done the family raising, and it's like showing. There's some wear marks there showing. And so I just shared. I was like, I'm just feeling really flat. We were talking about 2026, and I said mostly my relationship really bugs me that it's not amazing or not great. It feels like it's just okay. And I've shared with Tara on a few occasions that I feel like some relationships you can see anyone can see that they're a ship heading for the rocks at a rate of knots, like straight for the rocks. Like you can just tell. Oh my God,
burning out hard and fast.
Yeah, I doubt they'll be together next year. And then there's other relationships where you can't quite put your finger on something, and and it feels like I said to my partner, I was like, it feels like our relationship is this ship that's slowly drifting towards the rocks. And sometimes the tide changes a bit and drifts a bit away, but we're generally trending towards the rocks. And it's funny because I brought up and I don't want to expose, my wife, and I don't think I am in a malicious way, but when I would share this with her, and normally the feminine, in my opinion, would be more feely. We need to work this out. We need to figure what's going on. Whereas Tara's, when I talk about it with her, she would traditionally be, yeah, but it's okay. I mean, it's not great, but we were raising a family, and we're raising kids, and we got a lot going on, and then I kind of leave the conversation feeling, I don't quite buy that. Like but she's okay. And I'm like, oh, so you're okay with this like slow drift towards the land. It seems like, and that was always a bit perplexing to me. I was like, I would have thought that it would be, as soon as I broach the subject, it would be, or she would broach it first. I would have normally
Mm.
thought in my past relationships, the female would be the one that's like, we're not
Once
spending,
more.
yeah. Whereas Tara's seems to be, seems, and I don't think after talking to her last night, it's not the truth, but it seems to be like, yeah, we'll be all right.
Mm.
It works out. And so I was sharing this with my friends, and my buddy Adam was like, "Oh, that's avoidance,
Avoidant attachment.
avoidant
Yeah.
attachment," and I was like, "What?" Yeah, and so my view of attachment, just the word attachment, is attachment parenting, which is the
Yes.
only experience I've had under that, And so we
Yeah.
attachment parented. I'm moving my camera here. Just gotta get that plug out of the way. OCD. Which was like, children in the bed and close, and I've got my issues with that too. I like a lot of it, but this co-parenting, this co-sleeping thing, I don't think it's a great idea for marriage.
Mm.
Especially if you're like me, it can't sleep very well with too much
Mm.
going on. But that's another topic.
Mm.
So I was like, what's that? And
Mm.
by this time we'd been an hour and 45 minutes in this mega hot sauna. I was
Wow.
really holding on to the conversation. But yeah, I just really let go and just dumped a bunch of my feelings, and those guys
Mm.
listened to me. And so then they sent me this video of this guy who all he does is talk about avoidance attachment. The nice comforting thing is that he doesn't look like him, but he sounds just like Jack Black.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's actually a lovely voice to listen to, because
Mm.
Jack Black's such a lovely personality,
Mm.
and he's kind of talking about this serious thing. And I'll send you his videos, because that guy that talks about narcissism and that's all he talks about.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy is avoidance attachment, and he's got like a
Mm.
whole program of like counseling through it, and he talks in such a tender way towards women who have this. So I guess predominantly it sounds like, well, let's talk about what avoidance attachment is for me anyway. And I'm just learning this like 24 hours ago.
And it's been around like 40 years. I don't know how long it's been
Yeah, a
around
bit late to the
for.
party.
And
Wish
now you're
someone
going to
had
be
told
going
me
up
this.
to people going, have you heard about the attachment theory? And they're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's
dude.
different attachment theories, right? There's different
Yeah.
attachments, and we can talk about that. But for me, the avoidance is literally quite that. It's just like avoiding the difficult thing, and just operating and not having the deep conversations, and avoiding and just kind of walking away. And so we were modeled that as children, right? Like mom and dad
Mm.
would get in a fight, and dad would just get in the car and drive off,
Mm.
always peeling off up the road, and then calmly come back. And they didn't have cell phones, so they weren't texting each other the outcome, right? Like nowadays,
Right.
if I had a fight with my wife and drove off, I would probably be texting,
Mm.
apologize over text, and then drive back and just kind of fill in the little blank at the end. But so dad would calmly drive back after an hour of driving recklessly.
Mm.
And then all we saw as kids is, oh, everything seems to be okay now. So we never
Mm.
really had modeled to us any kind of conflict resolution. And then remember Roger came into the
Mm.
pictures, our oldest sister's husband, and he was from
Mm.
Holland.
Yeah.
And Dutch people hyper communicate, and
Mm.
so the British culture is like that. I don't talk about it, just stuff it down there. And that was like a bomb going off in our family, because it's like, let's talk about this. You're offended? Let's talk about it. We were just like,
We're like,
"What?"
oh,
Oh, we were
it's outrageous.
panicking. So yeah, I mean, I think we're always a product of the way we're raised. And so my second wife, because my first wife doesn't really count in a way, my second wife of 10 years, she was not avoidant, and she would call me out all the
All
time,
day long.
which was exhausting. But looking
Yeah.
back, I realized there's actually a good side to that, because nothing got left under the rug.
Mm.
It was like, I feel like you work all the time. I feel like you don't give me enough attention. I feel depleted. I'm here. Blah. And so it
Very
was
articulate.
hard work. But looking back, I'm like, there is a good yin and yang connect, when you have someone that's not avoidant and avoidant. Then I got out of that relationship, and it was a disaster at the end, and got together with my now wife. And I remember just bragging to people. I'm like, it's amazing. It's so easy. We just settle into
Mm,
it. Like, just like, it's like a glove that fits. It's like, no,
mm.
she's totally fine with me working on projects, doesn't feel jealous about my time with other people, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm realizing 10 years into the relationship, there's a darker side to that because we're
Actually, it's
both
more like
avoid
15. You've probably been together
15. Yeah, my
15.
time is terrible. Like
After
COVID
3
happened last
years,
year.
yeah,
I'm still 36 and
your children are all under the age of 10.
yeah, I know, which gets them in cheap to places.
Yeah, I
How
know.
old's he? How old's he? 10. Whoa.
He's been 10 for at least 5 years now.
Yeah, say 10.
I would say you
Um,
and Tara, given that you've got a 14-year-old, you've probably been
yeah,
together 17 years.
right. I was a
Maybe.
little off. Touch
Yeah.
off.
Give or take a decade.
I know. Oh, shit. So now I'm realizing that we're both avoidant.
Mhm.
And so that has created a set of problems that I'm now realizing what they are.
Mm,
That we both, because we'll both like feel something, yeah, we just push it down and carry on and coexist. And I think we could probably do this to the end
yeah.
because we just shove it down, self kind of tend to ourselves, get back onto a project, get something going to take our mind off it, and then we're just kind of nice and pleasant. So there's no fights in our house, no big
Mm,
fights ever.
mm,
I can count on one hand the times we've had like a actual volume up
mm,
argument on one hand, not even two.
wow.
But that's not entirely great
Mm,
because the laundry never gets fully aired. And so in my personal relationship, like Tara is the waterworks come on real fast,
mm,
and that's just a thing. And so that makes me avoid the discussion because I'm like, oh my goodness, I've hurt her feelings and the tears. I don't know what to do with that. But maybe that's a separate thing. But so here we are, 17 years in, and so I'm listening to this YouTube, and it's a great conversation with what he's having with this woman who is avoidant. And the interesting part of it, and I'm just learning about it, is cortisol is really a lot in there, like really
mm,
involved in this whole avoidance attachment, because he was saying that traditionally, like when two avoidants get together, or avoidant person gets together with another person, their sex life is incredible for the first year, and then it starts to wane. So there's this one, because there's this big
mm,
cortisol dump or something, and it's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, because if you don't, like for women, when you have sex, there's a cortisol dump that happens that helps you through, helps. It's kind of like manure in soil, right? Or it's like water. And I haven't quite unraveled it all, but it's a huge part of it, because a lot of extreme avoidance will, when they have sex, they don't face each other. They don't like kissing.
mm, yeah.
And my relationship isn't like that, but there is extreme pendulum swings where they will always have to have sex, like back to, not facing each other.
Well, I think the
It's
other thing
maybe
they do is they want, all humans want to be seen and known, and that's a human
Mm,
desire. But an avoidant, once they are seen and known, will want to withdraw and are more likely to run off and hide because they're so terrified of intimacy, but they crave it at the same time. So there's
mm,
that innate human need to be seen by someone, but an avoidant will find that also terrifying when they are seen because of that fear of
right.
rejection. They feel exposed, they feel vulnerable, make it stop. Then they pull away like an elastic band, and then eventually they'll circle back round because they crave to be seen and known like everyone does. But it
Mm,
creates a lot of room for rejection in a relationship because it is a rejecting behavior to like come and
right.
go and disappear, and then you're back round again. It's very confusing to be on the receiving end.
Yeah, and from my experience, it's like it's like all you need is closeness, but you actually grow further and further in physical touch and everything like that, because you're kind of like keeping score in a way. Like, I'm not going to show it because he never showed it. And one of the things that's a really strong trait in avoidance is especially with women, one of the things that they need the most is fairness, which is an interesting word to hear.
If
Fairness.
you're an avoidant, particularly
Yeah,
for an
so if you're an
avoidant.
avoidant, you don't feel like you've been fairly treated. So to be fairly treated is like fairly, there's a really important word, is a huge healing factor in the avoidance relationship. And when I last night the kids went downstairs and because I bought an old Nintendo Wii for Christmas because I'm like, okay, if we're going to play video games, they got to be interactive. So they went down and played some Wii tennis. And Tara's there, and I'm like, traditionally, these broaching anything like this has just landed on the floor. It's not been
Yeah.
great. And I think God just someone gave me the grace to be able to deliver this in a way that was non-confrontational. And I was like, have you ever heard of avoidance attachment? And she's like, no. And usually what I was hoping would not happen was like, oh yeah, heard of that. Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so we were equally on the same page. And when I started sharing about it, and when I said, one of the things this guy talked about is that the person needs to be treated fairly. And Tara just burst into tears. And I was like, that's so weird to me.
Mm.
Like being fairly
So that
treated. It's like, it's almost
that
big
resonated with
time.
her.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I thought, it's really weird. It's like this but then it's like that tit for tat thing. And then the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, I kind of operate like that. Like if I don't get it, I'm not going to give it.
Mm.
And so
Which must
it's
be
this
an underlying
childish.
fear of rejection. Must be like I
Huge.
resonate with. So I was saying to you this morning where I listened to this psychologist say actually they call it a dismissive avoidant attachment style. That's the full word for a dismissive avoidant is what
Mm,
you dismiss other people you come across as rejecting. So a dismissive
mm,
avoidant attachment, and then you've got the anxious attachment. It's probably got another word in front of it. They're more clingy and they are more likely to kind of be insecure in a where are you when are you coming back, like much more stalkerish, and often
mm,
those two end up with each other. So you've got one chasing the other constantly and the other's like constantly hiding in caves and trying to get away from this overly, like they feel a dismissive avoidant is going to feel very crowded by an anxious attachment style, because the anxious
mm,
attachment style is like, I need reassurance from you a lot that everything's okay, because they're with someone who appears to be rejecting them. But what this guy said is actually they're one and the same. The avoidant attachment style and the insecure attachment or anxious attachment is one and the same. It's all anxiety driven, but they mask it in different ways. So one of them becomes the lone wolf. I can look out for myself. I don't need anyone. That's the avoidant. And the insecure attachment or anxious attachment becomes the needy. But both of them have that underlying fear of rejection and sense of anxiety. It just presents. And then there's only two other attachment styles to choose from, because there's only four. One of them's healthy, which nobody is. So then you've only got three. And it's the disorganized attachment style, which is the most difficult and the more uncommon. So the disorganized attachment style is probably more personality disorders, the
mm.
narcissists, the Machiavellianism, the difficult people who you don't know what you're going to get. They're unpredictable. I haven't done a huge amount of research into the disorganized attachment, but they
Well, you
are
were
based.
married to one, weren't you?
I might have been. You might have been also. So you're
Yes.
those people are very high maintenance, unpredictable. What you're going to get,
Mm.
it's a lottery. So there's those which are
So,
more,
mm,
and then you've only got two remaining, which is
yeah,
avoidant
and they're
and
very close.
anxious, and they're basically the same.
Hmm.
They just show themselves differently. So there's really not many to
Hmm.
choose from at all.
No. Yeah. So
Like,
what happens a lot is you get the anxious and the disorganized in a couple. So I
yeah.
wonder what it is. I wonder what it is that the anxious is attracted to the disorganized, and vice versa. Those polarities are kind of pulled together.
Well, I think the most common and the ones like if you're with a disorganized attachment person, it's probably going to burn out hard and fast because that's chaos.
Mhm.
But if you're anxious attachment with an avoidant, which is probably the most enduring. It's a game of cat and mouse, your whole relationship. And that's what you see
Yeah, it's
so
subtle, right?
often. Yeah, it's the woman is the anxious one, the men's the avoidant, and the woman's like, hey, what are you thinking about? Mum and dad would have been totally, absolutely this. Mum asking dad, what are you thinking right now? And dad going, oh, I don't know. What is she asking of me? Oh, make it stop. Because mum wanted
Mhm.
connection and dad wanted to avoid. And so they just like
Mm.
chase each other their whole lives. But then what's really interesting, and you would probably see this in multiple relationships, you can be different things. And I think if you're with someone, you express, like, I think in different relationships, you can be a different type of person. So if you are with,
Mm.
I think what's happened with you and Tara is it's actually you're the one now, whereas your Jen used to be the one pursuing you. You
Mm.
speak way more about saying, hey, what's going on with us? So I think you are actually way more assertive or wanting more from this
Mm.
relationship, and you've become that other person. Whereas with Jen, you didn't need to be
Which
that
is
person.
yeah, and I've been like perplexed by that because I've not understood this concept, and so I'm like, why am I the one that's thinking like when I talk to her, I'm like, I think about this a lot. So I feel really sad about our relationship. She's like, what? Like, we're doing fine. We're just running a family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you don't feel that? Because I feel it a lot. And I'm like, this is back to front for me. You should be, you know.
Yeah, but Jen
Um,
used to be that.
but the
So
truth
Jen
is, she
used to be
is
the one.
feeling it. Oh, all the time.
And you didn't
We
have
need to
to.
talk.
Yeah, right. And you're like,
No,
oh, make it stop. But if one person is expressing 70 or 80% of the pursuing, the other person never gets to experience that. So one of you's doing
no.
all the running around and the other one's doing all the running away.
Well,
They,
it
the
rubs
one,
the other when you have the extreme, the disorganized. It eventually, over 10 years or whatever it is, rubs off on you. So some of that talk eventually, you kind of it rubs a bit
Mm,
off on you. You kind of so you carry that over.
yeah, probably.
The interesting thing is that I'm trying to understand too is that I don't carry that avoidance attachment into my professional life. Like I don't avoid it the hard thing in work
Yeah.
or with my I go all in and don't avoid the hard thing.
Well, that's why when I say to people, I struggle with assertiveness, everyone goes, you don't seem to struggle with assertiveness. But
Mm.
with that primary relationship, that's where all the shadow comes out. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'm with someone who I cannot be assertive with because there's a punishment involved, because it's not a healthy relationship. So in that one area, I suppose that person's really kind of cornered me and I'm
Mm.
unable to be assertive there. So I do think that it's different with your primary relationship. That's where the shadow work
Mm.
gets really thrashed out.
Mm.
But if you were in another relationship after this with a different type, you would probably express yourself differently in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you
Yeah, it's the
would.
it's the yeah, it's the chemical thing that's happening, right? Like you plant a plant next to a different type of tree and it has a different reaction. It might wilt a bit or it might grow more. It's all to do with the earth and the chemical between those two plants and what's
Yeah.
going on. It's like very rarely are you planted in the perfect spot where you get the perfect amount of sun, you get the perfect soil, everything's great. You're going to grow like no, it's
Mm.
usually a tough slog. And I guess that's the crucible of relationships. Um, yeah. And, it's funny because Ryan, my other friend, has just had his first baby. And we had this, I don't know if I told you, we had this circle time to kind of call him before the baby had come. All us men in the valley, all this men, are part of this men's group and stuff, wanted to just like give him a blessing, bless him into this new adventure that he was heading into. And so there was about 15 men or so showed up down in the forest. We had this big fire going. And we all walked down to his house because he lives in the woods in like a hobbit home that's hoisted up into the trees. So that's where they're
Wow.
currently raising their new child with a composting toilet and a generator and the whole bit, like really
Wow.
in the woods. I'm curious to know how long she lasts. She's
Mm.
like, I need a fucking running toilet.
Wow.
And so we went down, we walked through the forest to his house, and we sang this ancient canoe song, whatever. And he came out, and we walked him back up to the fire, and then we ate some raw, not raw, but it was a deer that someone had
Mm.
recently shot. It's just total
Uh,
man thing stuff. And then we, were supposed to ask him these questions like, what will you do when your wife needs you and you're run ragged and you've just come home from work? But I could tell that all of the fathers were itching to give him advice, like all of the seasoned dads. It was so hard not to just give advice. And the difficult thing was, like, it seems like it comes out in a negative way. It's like, bro, you're not going to sleep through the night for a long time.
Just you
And
wait.
yeah, and then it, I said to him, and I tried not to I says, you're going to lose your wife. And and it's like, that sounds really heavy, but that's the reality of it. It's like, you think she loves you and you're the apple of her eye. Well, that's all going to change, because the love she's going to have for this little baby is going to be more than the love she has for you.
You're headed for
And
a demotion. You're getting demoted like you no idea, mate. Total
yeah,
demotion.
and it's a lonely road.
Mm.
And I don't know if I'm the only guy. I'm sure I'm not the only guy that has felt that. And I saw a lot of nodding heads, and
Yeah.
Anyway, that is also, that takes a big toll on a relationship.
Yeah.
Just it is the testing fire for a relationship.
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
every conversation is going to be interrupted. Every
Yeah.
intimate time is going to be short and sweet.
Yeah.
You know, the one-on-one is going to be
Yeah.
limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hope you make it through.
It's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tara's now like, look, last night she's like, I'm really emotional about the fact that my kids are leaving us. Like, they're getting involved in boyfriends and girlfriends, and you can kind of see that there's this change, this big sea change happening, where they're starting to be more independent and not need us so much. And she's like, that's really hard for me. I'm like, it's hard for me too. I just don't share it in the same way. But I'm like, it's tough, but it just is. You can't change that. It just is.
I had that
It's
last
awfully
night
hard.
because the kids, now that I'm separated and he has his own home finally, they went and spent their first night at his house.
Abigail has her own house. She's
Yeah.
not sleeping on couches, 18
I
months
know.
on couches.
Yeah, unreal, man. I finally unpacked my bags and they went and spent the night with him. And of course, it's bittersweet because for me, it's that one day they're going to leave. I always catastrophize, they're gone for one night. And in the end, they were gone for less than 12 hours because it's school and they, just, it was chaos. But I always think, oh my goodness, that's it. My kids are gone. This is it. This is the beginning of the end. And I kind of over dramatize it in my mind because reconnect with my partner, or what are we going to do? Let's pick up some hobbies. I'm now a single person. So can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Here we
Can
go.
you hear me?
You might have to delete some stuff. I don't know. I can't hear you
No,
now.
no. It's the phone went.
There you are.
Okay.
Oh, your
So,
phone rang.
yeah. So, first night alone as a single mum, my kids are gone. They're at their dad's house and I don't have a partner. So my desire to keep hold of my kids is even more than what you guys would be because they're my life now. And
You're the devouring mother.
yeah, I am the devouring mother. She's like, so maybe you should just stay home. We should just work something out here. But it's really interesting to observe those feelings of going from being a couple where you're like, wow, we're going to have to reinvent and get some hobbies and busy ourselves when our kids grow up. So you're having that conversation. My conversation is, this is it. Like, I am mum. And when I'm not mum, I'm not even a wife. And it's really a very odd thing because my
Oh,
kids have become my world. And that actually wasn't the case for so many years because my marriage.
I'm gonna try and ring again.
I'm trying to ring. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting watching your trajectory because I think 3 years ago, it was like, "I'm a terrible mom. I wasn't cut out to be a mom. I'm
yeah,
just not a mom, and that's just the way I have to face it." Like, let's just face it, I shouldn't have been I'm just not a mom. That's not what God created in me.
yeah,
To now, and that seems to be what you were, being manipulated to believe
absolutely.
or psychologically, fucking fucked with.
Yeah.
And now you realize, "Actually, I'm a really good mom, and I'm
I
really
love
nurturing."
this. I
Yeah, and
love
so
this. Yeah.
yeah, and you're so self-sacrificing and so, like, and I'm like, it's amazing what I mean, I never thought you were a bad mom. I think, yeah, now it turns out that you were just brainwashed into
Yeah.
believing I'm
And
terrible.
just coping and just trying to be, I was the piggy in the middle because I'm trying to keep a disorganized person happy whilst nurturing children. And it turns out it is very difficult to do both.
Because he
You
was, like, your
need.
4th child, right? Yeah.
Right. And you need the other adult in your life to be capable of taking care of themselves. And if they aren't, so where I would push back on what you said to your friend, where you said, basically you're going to get demoted, they're going to love that child more than you. That didn't happen to me because I was with someone who would not allow that to happen. And actually, I think it's better that what you're describing happens and the man has to fight for a way to get his wife back rather than that man being so demanding and needy that that child is left in the
Neglected?
shadows. Yeah. I mean, my kids wouldn't say they were neglected, but I know what a strain it is to have a marriage that drains you of all your nutrients so that that child
Mm.
cannot be number one ever. And that's an awful situation. So what this friend of yours is about to embark on is probably the better scenario. He's adult
Mhm.
enough to take care of himself and he needs to
Mm.
find a way to win his woman back in
In a
creative
different way.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a far better scenario than him having tantrums and being a big baby and not being able to handle not being number one because he's jealous of the child.
Yeah, I mean, life is not like I think we live in a very selfish world where people can choose not to have children, and sometimes they can't have children, understandably. But you're robbing yourself of. No, well, people would say, What am I robbing myself of? It looks like it's shit, you know. But the animal kingdom is all about that, right? Like it's constantly like a tree is constantly not thinking about itself. It's like, how can I
Mm,
reproduce myself? It's not thinking about one day I'm going to get chopped down because it's not thinking. I don't think it has a mind, but it's created to recreate itself because it knows in its DNA that it's eventually going to rot and die.
mm.
And the testing that goes on through losing your wife to your child is
And then
tough.
losing your children to the world.
Yeah, is hard, but we were created to endure hard times because hard times make strong people. It's how the diamond and the gold is formed. Um, and so,
I
yeah,
saw
you're
this reel.
at, yeah,
Well, I saw this reel where the guy says, your ego wants you to think that you're here for some grand purpose. But in reality, as humans, we're just here to experience life. And I don't know what I think about that. It's challenging because I'm always looking for meaning and purpose. But he
yeah,
basically says, we are here just to experience life in all its
yeah,
forms.
yeah.
And if that's true, then having children is just another aspect of experiencing life in all its forms. So if you don't have them, you are not
Robbing
experiencing
yourself.
that. Yeah. And for me now, I think what I find really fascinating, and this is probably only a reflection of how difficult the relationship was that I've come from, is that for me, now that I'm a single mum, being a parent is so much easier. And that the hardest part for me was juggling
Crazy.
marriage and children is so, but then it was a very demanding marriage. So maybe if it was someone where But even what you're describing, I find interesting, because I think if you were a single dad right now, you would just throw yourself into your children and there wouldn't be this relationship you're fighting for. And what is so impossible is the fact that you've got to keep that going good, raise these kids well, and it's like all happening all at once. When in what I'm kind of shocked by is how much easier it is just to be a single parent. Because
in your situation.
yeah, and I will say it's unique. If
Yeah,
you
because
have a
in
partner,
if
you would
you were to
miss her.
extract Tara out of my life, aside from the companion side of it, I would not enjoy that world. Like
Really
Tara does
interesting.
her lion's share big time. Like, you know,
Mm. Yeah,
every dinner she cooks.
yeah.
360, I don't know how many dinners she cooks in a year.
More than there in a year.
I mean, I pull my weight and then some,
Yeah, you
right? But
do.
she also takes care
Yeah.
of a huge part of running this home. You know,
Mm.
all the children's activities, you know, runs
Yeah.
the Airbnb, does the, you know, so from a machinery standpoint, we're a really good pairing. We move
Mm.
that thing forward. Like, you know, I'm gonna talk, you know, so we went winter camping to bring in the new year, which I've never done before, you know, which is like a lot of work because I'd already winterized our trailer. So it's like, take it all off, put all the
Mm.
sleeping bags in there, make all this, and we went out and camped up the mountain in the snow with some friends, and it was amazing, so fun.
Really.
Now it wasn't -10, it was like
Mm.
-1, so it
Wow.
was totally manageable,
Mm.
and my trailer has heat. But I was out there for 7 hours prepping everything, and then the trailer lights weren't working, and it's pitch black, and I'm out there with a flashlight and trying to hook up the electrics to my trailer, and you know, and I can see across the farm is Gabe just playing yo-yo in the window, just like in his slippers. And I'm like, I'm old fashioned. I'm like, you're the man. You should be out here. Hey, Dad, you need a hand? What's going on?
Mm.
And I was like boiling. I'm boiling. And I used Voxer, which is that app that we all
Mm.
use to communicate. I was like, hey, Tara, can you send out Gabe? And she didn't respond. And I could see that she'd read it. And after a while, I boiled and marched up to the house. But when you live on a property, everything's a long way away.
So it took me 10 minutes to get to the house.
You go to the house and I storm in the door. I'm like, why didn't you send Gabe? And Tara was like, I'm getting ready for camping. What happened is she just thought that Voxer was from earlier and it was just lines crossed. But she didn't, like, that would have been with my previous relationship. Fine, then we're not going, throwing stuff on the ground. Da, 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 da. And she was just like, sorry, babe, I got the wrong end of the stick. And, you know, and so it wasn't this escalation. It was just this calming, you know,
Diffusing.
just like, okay. And then we're back to getting on task, and then we apologize and we're driving up the hill. It's like, sorry about that.
And that's the perfect, that's the best of the avoidance.
Yeah,
We're not going to make this into
avoidance
a big deal.
at its best.
Perfect.
Just on task.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but there is a good, because if we had this big escalation blow up, we wouldn't have gone camping. It would have just been off, and the kids would have been crying, and everyone would have been crying. It would have been just a fucking mess.
So if you had been with a disorganized attachment, there would have been an explosion and reactory. I'm not going, that's it, I'm done. And then if you had been with an anxious attachment, they would have felt rejected by you the whole time because you lost your temper and they'd take it personally.
Yeah,
so
not
you
let
can
me forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it would be like a cause for grievance for many months to come. And so there is some really good aspects to avoidance being together.
Yeah, and it's totally salvageable, I would say.
Yeah,
like if you were to say,
course.
okay, because we're not going to have the number 4, right?
That's out of the question.
that there isn't; those don't exist. So if you got your
They're
choice,
unicorns.
Yeah, if you got your choice, what would you choose?
Well, like by all accounts, anxious and avoidant are one and the same. So
you don't want the other one.
You don't want the disorganized attachment, because that's getting into dark triad stuff, and that's hard work. That's almost, I often say that a marriage can fail. Any relationship can fail on the most basic things: money, religion, how you raise your kids, sex, and communication. Like those are enough. If you have a breakdown in any one of those things, it's enough to obliterate a marriage. But then if you've got a disorganized attachment style, and it's like gambling, prostitution, swinging, like drugs, major addictions, like that will inevitably obliterate a relationship, right? But even these basic ones, like, oh, we always fight about money, is enough to finish a relationship. That's what's so ridiculous about relationships, is that you can have a real disagreement about how you raise kids and a different philosophy, and that is enough to just tear a relationship to shreds. And it's still
Yeah.
part of what I would say to be the most conventional issues. Spirituality, one of you loses your faith and the other one's still a Christian, but
Yeah.
you're not
Oh, the
anymore.
jab.
The
The
jab,
jab.
like these things can wreak havoc, and they're a rat's nest. Like Jordan Peterson will break down what can create a rat's nest of problems. Well, I can attest that if one of you is an extrovert and the other an introvert, that alone is a big problem. If one
Mm,
of you just wants to go out all the time and has lots of friends, and the other one is more antisocial, wants to stay in, that alone is a problem. Like I keep telling my kids, you want to be more similar than you are different. You want to be complementary. This idea that opposites attract and complement each other. Under stress, you will polarize each other and you'll swing to
mm,
opposite ends and then
mm.
war at each other. So you really want, like, if you're an introvert, you
Pain.
want to be with an introvert that's slightly more extrovert, in that as much as they're like, come on, we probably should go out a bit more, or, they
Mm,
push you a little. But if they're an extreme extrovert, you're going to polarize each other.
mm. I think if you're this is like just on the edge of my thoughts. I don't know if I can put it together, but I think if you're two, say you're two avoidants together, and you're just settled in your avoidance nest, I think if you feel a sense of where the guard can come down, and you can just be avoidant together and notice it, I think then you can start to like look outside the nest and think, we really should have some friends over. We really
Mm,
should go out more. But I
mm,
think as long as you're on defense mode for your I'm avoidance, you're la la la, and
mm.
you're just warring, then your walls are always up, and you never really have your guard down where you can be like, yeah, I think we should go on more
Yeah.
dates, or because
Well,
you
I
just
think the
spent your whole
awareness,
time is spent fighting and repairing and fighting and repairing.
well, in an avoidant, you're not fighting. I think what I notice with avoidance, and I would say that I am myself, is where you talk about the fairness, I would say my language would be suspicious. You're more of a suspicious person. And so there's a tendency to have a bit of a, what's going on over there? Like, a generous hearted person will just give out the love without
Mm,
reservation, and they're just kind
mm,
of dishing it out generously. A more
mm,
avoidant type is more tit for tat. I'm suspicious. What's your motive? What are
mm.
you could be together 20 years and your cards are still close to your chest. You're like, well, what cards have you got over there? It's
You want
just
me to
like, what the
touch you on
fuck,
the knee?
man?
You never touch me on the knee. You touch me on the
I
knee
know.
first, and then I might touch you on the knee.
And this is what's silly, is you could be with each other 20 years and you're still not all in. Like,
No.
that is your person, and you still haven't put all your chips on the table. You're still
Yeah.
looking at your cards, wondering what their cards are. And I feel like
Well,
that is the underlying attitude of an avoidant, is they're not all
mm.
in, even when they actually are all in. Like, you're never going to
Well,
be more in.
they're actually really scared, which is such an anomaly or such a weird thing, because in the world, you're not scared. You go start a business, you go buy
Right.
a house, you go and you do this, you do that. But in your relationship, like I feel like I'm so courageous out in the world. Like I'll go fight the bear, whatever that bear
Mm.
is. In my relationship, to just soften up and give of my, like, babe, I just love it if we could just sleep, have some intimate time tonight.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like climbing Mount Everest, because it's like
Oh,
because I'm thinking I'm telling the story, I'm creating a story in my head that how she's going to react. And then I'm reacting to how she's reacting. And by the time the story's over, I'm not saying anything because
you
it's
talk
way
your way
too
out of
risky.
it. Yeah, high risk,
Yeah.
high stakes. Okay, this is your person, though. That's what's so crazy. Is like, you've been with this person nearly 2 decades. You're all in, whether you want to realize it or not. And yet the
Mm,
stakes are too high to let your guard down, to be vulnerable and say, I really need this right now. And it's just amazing to me. I don't judge it because I feel it in myself at how But that awareness, like that conversation and what you realized last night, I do think that's why awareness is so powerful. Because if you're
Mm,
aware and you're watching yourself like the one bird looking at the other bird, like you're a third
mm,
person in your mind going, oh, look
mm,
how suspicious I am of my person. Look how
mm,
close I keep my cards to my chest. That level of
mm,
awareness is without a doubt the most powerful. Like that's 70% always of the journey is going,
mm.
look at
And if you're
look at
both
me. If you're both
being a
aware,
stupid idiot.
well, just like
Yeah, if you're
that's
both aware, like thankfully last night that conversation wasn't met with adversity, it was met with openness. And so now we're on this new journey to understand that because we both admitted this is what we are. And the nice thing about that is that I'm not saying I think you're avoidance. I'm like saying I'm definitely avoid. That's the way I said it. I'm
mm,
definitely avoidance. And my hunch is that you are too.
yeah,
And so it was like not met with defensiveness. It was met with like, okay, we're both fucked or we're
yeah,
both on this equal playing.
yeah,
And now I think we can humorously, um, the way I see it's happening is that we can humorously look at a situation and say, I think I'm being avoidant right now.
yeah, yeah,
And both be able to be like, yeah, you are, and then try and work in the opposite spirit.
yeah,
I think this really reflects on what Chris Williamson was saying about how media, and we've talked about this, going for these the men that really aren't good for you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like Room with a
The
View.
bad boy.
That's another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're actually with the perfect mate, and you're craving this childlike nightmare.
Mm.
It's exciting,
Well, that
and
a divorce lawyer who's often on Instagram, he said, I don't care what anyone says time and time again. Men, well, women want the bad boy who's good to them, and men want the good girl who's bad to them. And I was trying to kind of
mm,
think that through. It's more cliche when we know that women are often drawn to the bad boy, but they want that
mm,
bad boy to be bad to everyone but them. So they want the bad boy to look after them and protect them and treat them right and make them the exception. So women are constantly trying to domesticate the beast and to
mm.
like kind of corral him in because he's slightly wild. So that's a story like Beauty and the Beast that we all are familiar. But when he said, and I don't know if this resonates with you or not, because I'm still trying to get my head around it, and men want the good girl, so she's faithful, loyal, but she's also like badass to him. Probably a freak in the bedroom is what he's referring to, or something like where the man's getting the wild side, but then everyone else sees that that's my woman, she's with me. I don't know. I haven't quite kind of broken down what that means.
I mean, if you take it to hunting, right? Like men, mostly men hunt, and I could easily open the gate to my farm and let a deer in, close the gate, wait for it to bed down, shoot it. It's like
Mm,
right there.
right.
Or I could go for 5 days up in the mountains, come
Cost
back
you a grand.
empty-handed. If I shot that deer in my property, I would not tell anyone because
Right.
it's
Because
just
it's
not
pussy.
worth bragging about. Yeah, you're being a pussy. So men want a hunt, right? Like they love the smell of blood. Like they want,
Mm,
do you know what I mean? Like they want to put in the work. They want to fight for something.
mm,
But is it necessarily the good? I think that might be a carnal desire. Um, but I don't know if it's the smart move
mm,
because once you caught that deer, then you're going to want to hunt again. You got the
mm,
bug for it. And it's just like, so you're always going to want to take down the strong, lightly aloof, hard to get and crack her. It's like a code.
mm.
And I
Yeah.
and I can't generalize. Some men don't want, but for me, that's what I always was pulled
Mm,
towards.
yeah.
The hard thing to
The
get.
hard
And
to
it was like,
attain.
how can I get this Rubik's Cube to,
Mm,
it's like a mystery.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the bad thing is that if you get addicted to that, you'll just keep on chasing and chasing and hunting further and further up the mountain. Uh, and then
Because it's
one day
less to
you'll
do
find
with the
something that's
woman.
going to hunt you back.
Well, it's less to do with the woman at that point. Because once you've attained the thing that's hard to get, you then want to attain another thing that's hard to get. And it's the hunt that you're
Mm.
addicted to. Because once you've got the woman, she becomes this domesticated faith, you know, it loses its excitement as it just has to, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
I've been watching this woman on Instagram. I don't know if I sent her to you, and I think she's like, I don't know if I could share it with Tara but she just calls a spade in relationships. She's always in her car talking to her phone. She's got a massive following,
Okay, I don't
but
think I've had.
she's a very traditional, has a very traditional approach to like, let your man be the man. Let your man, you know, you're like, kind of like when your man comes home from work, go throw your arms around him because he's just slaved away at a job to keep the rent paid, and you know, give your man sex. Because what the interesting part about sex that she says, and it so resonated with me, not because I like the act of sex, it's like it physiologically calms him down. Like, you know,
It's a reset.
it's not it softens him, and it's not like like this carnal desire, this is desire to fuck, you know. It's like it's like physio, and I you know, when I go to the gym and work out really hard, I come home and I'm softer. I'm just softer. Like I'm
Right.
softer to the kids, I'm softer to everything.
Yeah.
And after, if I have sex, it's like the next day or two, day and a half, I think that this afterburn that is just like softness. And I think it's like, and what this woman was saying is like, that's how a man connects with his woman. That is like, you might not want to face that, and you might be holding it from him as a form of control. But if you want your man to be softer, and it's kind of like this like Rubik's Cube, because it's like, well, I'm not going to give it to him because he's not soft towards me.
Right. The chicken and the
So
egg.
it is chicken and the egg, because the woman was like, well, I'm not going to go to bed with him because he's not been tender to me. And so you have to kind of step back a little bit, and it's like, well, who's going to go first then? He's
Where
going to
you're
be tender
poking
to me
out from
first,
behind the
then I'll
wall.
give it.
I know. And if you've got two avoidants, you're fucked, because you're just like, you know, you're constantly just
Like,
running away from each other. I know, because something
well,
that I was
this
thinking.
fairness thing that's
Yeah.
like, that's where fairness comes in, because I can tell that my partner wants to, she's like, yeah, but I'm not feeling like you've been fair to me. So that the scale needs to be like constantly in a avoidance head. And I probably feel that, and I have to understand that and unpack that. But there's this tit for tat thing going on.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's conditional love, you know, that you're trapped in because it's performance based. You haven't done this for me. Do I really want to give you this when you haven't done this for me? It's all a conditional setup, isn't it, of reward and suffering, and do you deserve this? And it's interesting that we so easily get into those cycles of conditional love, because what that woman's describing is a generous, like, just throw it out there, like, you know, give this to him regardless of his attitude. She's probably basically saying is, if you do this, his attitude, it will come back. He will do the things that you know, it's just a kind of universal
100%.
law.
And you
And
can see all the comments in the hundreds of
really,
comments, is all dudes like, oh my God, I wish my wife could read this. I
yeah,
don't think I can show it to her. You're speaking the truth. This is, and it's not, and I think what women think is, oh yeah, you just want to get laid more. It's like, no. Like when I tell Tara, it's like, the funny thing is, and it's like, I want to be close to you. It's this weird thing, because you think that's how the woman would think, right? It's like this, no, and I don't think a lot of women understand that's how a man feels close. Like, it's not the act of intercourse, even though there is the act of intercourse, because it's a great payoff for both partners.
but
I
John
always tell
Gray would
Tara, it's like
say,
the best fair ride in the fair, and it's free.
yes, like, what are we complaining about here? But the
I
John
know, like,
Gray,
why don't we do this more? It's like,
John Gray would say men's first language is physical and their second language is what, verbal. So men show their love by, and this would probably definitely fit into you, by physical acts of service, but also how they express their love is through physical acts. And secondary is language, because so often for men, articulation is so difficult. and it's like their second language. It's not, words aren't men's language of choice. So if you had to choose
No.
between, I want you to articulate what you're feeling, or if there was an option is, can you physically show me what you're frustrated about, and you just got an axe and you just went for it on a log, most men would pick that. They would say, let me just thrash this out with an axe, and that is the equivalent of 100 words. But it is fascinating, because you just think the wedges that are created within relationships that are so unnecessary are mainly based in our very kind of stingy and conditional basis of suspicion of the other, not wanting to land somewhere in case we're rejected. And it's that scarcity, where this woman's describing a total, like, generous, like, just dish it out all day long, just dish it out. You know, that's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
And it will come back to you.
It will come back to you, like, no, maybe it won't. And it's like, just live, pay it
I mean,
forward. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you were an AI counselor, right? And we're going to have those, and they probably already do. They're just going to look at this scenario and just scratch its like digital head. Like, just 2 plus 2 makes 4. Well, I don't want to do 2 plus 2. It's like, it's going to totally just like short circuit. It's like, this is so simple. All you got to do is sleep with them. And apparently this intercourse thing is really fun, and you feel really good afterwards, but you don't want to do it. What's going on?
It's so, it's incredible. But all of that is based in our lack of safety, probably how we're hardwired, our nervous system programmed under the age of 10, that it's not safe to land with our parents, that they're unpredictable, you know, that I have to look out for myself. This is
It's
all
a
just
poverty
like
mentality, right?
Wired, scarcity. And then you meet people who don't have the scarcity, who are generous. And things just flow, you know, just life just seems to flow.
I know, it's sickening.
I know, and they're just like,
makes me want to throw up.
And they touch people, you know, when they talk to people, they'll like rub you on your back and actually reach out and touch, and you know. But it is infectious when you meet someone who's just like, oh man, I missed you, man, and they kind of like rub you on the back, and they'll give you an affirming word, and you're just like,
there's so many men like that around here.
It's disgusting.
I know. And then Tara and I are watching a movie last night, and it's like we're sitting on the couch, and it's like my knee touches her knee. So, okay. It's like, no, and we're doing fine because we just had this talk, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
but it's still there.
My hand kind of touches her pinky. Let's hold hand. All right, we'll make that. I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, what the hell is going on here?
This is like being 12 again, when you're trying to kind of like get close to a girl. You're still back there.
But we weren't cuddled as children, right? Like we weren't that physical part. I mean, I love my mom, and you know, we didn't have a terrible upbringing at all, but that is one thing we didn't have much. There wasn't much cuddling and physical touch, and so it's just so foreign.
But again,
when you meet someone for the first time, that all goes out the window. You're really
right.
But after a while,
you always return to your baseline. And this is the thing that I'm realizing, is that when you first meet someone, you put your best foot forward, but you always return to your baseline of who you truly are eventually. And moving the needle on that is very, very difficult. That baseline of what you were raised. But some people were raised without affection, and they become extremely affectionate as a result of not having affection. So it doesn't always, you know, the fact that we didn't have a lot of affection, just like how you fathered your children is so different from how you were fathered, because you made a conscious, but that's to do with level of awareness. Like, you were aware that you were not had a great relationship with your dad, therefore you're making a concerted effort with your own children not to be like that. And your awareness going into fathering has shaped how you father. So why can that not translate into how you are in marriage? You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? I was thinking that when you were saying that, because when you're a father or a mother, you don't expect anything in return, because I don't think I do. I'm like,
Mm,
"Hey, I just hugged you. Why didn't you I just did," I mean, there's a little bit, and when they get
mm,
older, like, "I just did all of this, and you can't just, like, clean your dishes." So
mm,
there's a little bit of tit for tat comes in, but for the most part, you don't really expect anything in return. You just give.
mm,
And I don't think that's thought about. I think it's just unless you're a child, fucked up person, I think
mm.
most parents just expect this is just complete servant role.
Yeah, you're
But
dishing
with,
out.
with, yeah, but with a relationship, you from the get-go, you're expecting a tit for tat. Like that, you
Mm,
go into it thinking that. Where you shouldn't really, you should be serving your partner,
mm.
but, we're not perfect.
But
And
that is where all those
And so
shadows
it
come
quickly
out.
becomes this, yeah, the bank account, right? It's like, well, you owe
Mm,
me $5 and I paid you 20. And, I mean, yeah, I mean, what does one person say? What's the best thing you can, I think it was this Chinese, or Japanese guru guy who's a complete celibate, but he does marriage counseling. I've seen him online. And someone asked him, what's the best thing you can give your partner? And he goes, I think it was your attention. No, make them feel listened to or heard or
mm,
something like that.
right.
And I realize that's what we're mostly doing. Like when I'm slaving away outside building something, it takes so much effort. Deep down, all I really want is for it to be, oh yeah, he said to be noticed.
Okay.
And deep down, all I really want is to be noticed, is for Tara to come and say, well, you moved that from there to there? Oh man, that's like incredible.
Mm,
And I think when you first meet someone, you notice everything. You're like,
mm,
oh, my other partner never did that. I'm so grateful for
mm,
you. And oh, you look so amazing this morning. And
mm.
it's all new. And so you notice everything. And then you get familiar. And that's the dangerous territory, because now you get familiar, and oh, well, she always brings me flowers on a Friday.
Mm,
And, he always runs a bath for me. And so
mm,
you stop noticing it and thanking the person for it,
mm.
when deep down, each person wants to continually be noticed for those things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I notice most of the stuff I do is for my family and for my wife. It's like deep down, I just want people, my loved ones, to notice that I'm big and strong and creative.
Mm. Yeah. It's not
And
much
that
to ask, is it?
familiarity is like cancer in a
Mm,
No. And I'm as guilty as my wife is, but that familiarity is like cancer to a relationship, and it's so common, I think. And that's why a new relationship is so attractive to people,
mm.
because they're
Yeah.
noticing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So
They notice
true.
how I did my hair, they notice my dress, they notice the thing I did, they notice that, but watch out, because that will
Mm,
wane and fall off in about
yeah.
a year.
Yeah. Well,
It
we
will
crave
become, "Oh, that's just
novelty.
the way he is." It's like, "No,
Yeah.
he's."
Yeah. We crave that
Well, I think
novelty
we crave,
of,
well, I'm wondering if we crave novelty, or we crave to be noticed, and and both parties are guilty of the noticing just become part of the picture, and, "Oh, that's just a Mona Lisa." I mean, it's just, I don't know.
mm, yeah. 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 It's
I see that
fascinating.
art all the time, it doesn't really mean much to me anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's hard to live in a state of awe all the time. You know, you just don't. If you lived on the edge of
well,
the Grand Canyon,
look at the Gillespies.
what, and their marriage?
I think about the Gillespies all the time.
Do you? Well, like what part?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they're divorced now. Well, the way that I mean, they had how many kids? 6?
6 or 7.
So 7 children. When we used to go over, those kids were all under the age of 16.
Mm.
And we go there for Sunday, and his wife Tisa would walk into the room, and he would just everything stopped. Look at my wife. And we would just be like, ah, so cheesy for being from England, but they were from the States, right? And he's like, isn't she beautiful? And he'd be like, oh, Joan, don't embarrass me in front of everybody. And I'm like, we used to mock it and think it was horrible. But I'm like, I think they're still together. And I'm
Think so.
like that was probably a little bit forced.
Mm.
But man, it was probably greasing the wheels.
Yeah.
Evidently, they were having a lot of sex, because there's a lot of
They
children.
had a lot of babies.
Um,
Yeah. They were into each other.
yeah, I mean, faking it. Yeah. I mean, you don't plant a plant in the ground and think, okay, I watered it for the first months and now it's good. It's like, no, you have to
Mm.
actually keep feeding it
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
I mean,
rare to meet a couple that are still into each other after several decades, where they like dig each other. That's basically what we saw in
yeah.
that couple. And we don't know, you never know what goes on behind closed doors, because people, even my own children, thought that of my marriage, because where John would say these things to Tisa, he would elevate her, but we don't know whether he would also degrade her. But certainly that's what my experience was constantly. Wow, you're amazing, you're amazing. And then you're nothing, you're nothing. Now that's a difficult person. You know, you're up and down and up and down. But to be consistently into each other where you're like, you know what, I am so lucky to be with this person and I hit the jackpot. And to be ever aware of that is a pretty amazing thing to attain. Like where you see, and that's where Esther Perel, that she's like a marriage psychologist, would say it's so important to see your partner with new eyes in different settings where they're like holding court in a, let's say they were up front. And I think this is why in the church it often happened, where if you're a worship leader up front and you've got a mic and you've got a guitar, there's something so attractive about that, because you're seeing your partner in a totally different setting where they have a different persona. And Esther Perel talks about how, you know, when you're at home raising a family, you're only ever seeing your partner in one dimensional, one setting. And that's why it's so important to see them with new eyes in a different setting. So if you go out, dress up, or you see them. Yeah.
And she's back. What's the long and the short of what you were just saying about, we were talking about John and Tisa. We have to
Is it
turn you.
this way? Okay.
Oh, another Marilyn Monroe. You got two Monroes.
No, this is my daughter's bedroom.
She's a Monroe fan?
She's a Monroe fan. No, what I was saying about John and Tisa is that they still were into each other after all those years. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but where Esther Perel talks about the importance of seeing your partner with new eyes in different settings, you know, it really ignites a relationship where you can see them in different settings other than just at home. And you become so familiar with each other when you're only seeing each other in a one-dimensional, you know. And that's why dressing up and going out or seeing them, and I was saying that that's why, you know, when you're on stage with your previous marriage, when you were on stage performing, what did that do to your relationship? Because they're seeing you with new eyes like other people see you. And all of a sudden it's like, man, he's attractive and he can sing and he's holding court and he's owning it. And I think one of the difficulties is not being able to see it that way, because you become so like, all we ever see each other is in the kitchen with sweatpants on.
Yeah, you know, maybe being like when we moved to the farm here, I thought that last night too. I'm like, I'm always here. I mean, I do go to Vancouver from time to time, but I'm always around. And so that familiarity is like, yeah, I'm always wearing work clothes. I'm always covered in dirt. Tara's just wearing sweats and never does her makeup unless we go out. So that's very, very rare. I remember when we had a staff Christmas party years ago, and Tara showed up, and there was like 15, that's when Little Star was really humming, and there was like 15, 20 people there. And Tara was so like all over me, because all of a sudden she was like, oh, this is my man. Like, my man is the boss of all of this. And the same way when I would go play on stage, it was like, oh, there was this tagging thing that seemed to be happening inside Tara, where it was like, I want people to know that I'm with him.
I'm with him.
Yeah. And I think that there's something that needs to be nurtured there as far as this. Yeah. Like, there is this familiar, because I think deep down, and this sounds very, shitty, but sometimes I look at Tara and what she's wearing, and it's like raggedy old t-shirt and just all the time. It's like, I miss that effort. I miss that kind of sexy thing, and I think that that's why I really like this lady on Instagram, because she's talking about these. I think she gets a lot of hate from women, but she's a woman talking to women about these just very basic things, like but they're so incredibly true. Like, yeah. I mean, it's like, when you were with someone for a long time, you're like, okay, let's have sex, and it's usually organized. If you're in a if you've got
Yeah.
kids, it's like 10 o'clock tomorrow, yeah, and it's like, let's cover the bed in something, so we don't want to do the laundry. Um, Lock the door, and then it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so you're picking the kids up at 2:30, is it, or am I? And I'm like, you know, I'm like,
I
what a man wants is that spontaneity. It's like, we'll
Yeah,
still like go through it, and it'll be great time, but it's like deep down, it's like, oh, I really miss that, like just spontaneity and that,
yeah,
and so how do you do that when you're around each other all the time? Like, I think if I had a job where I went like I used to, leave the house at 8 a.m. and come back at 5, it would be like this looking forward to him coming home because, oh, he can take the kid, I can take a breather.
mm,
And there's this like sigh of relief when you walk through the door versus like,
yeah,
well, he's always here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I think, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe the reason that John and Tisa were so successful, there's probably multiple reasons, but I think they had some of those old-fashioned values.
yeah,
Like, that's my man. He's gonna
mm,
keep the bear from the door.
yeah,
They were Southerners, by the way, everybody. Um,
yeah,
and he was like, I'm her man. I'm gonna keep the bear from the door. She knows I'm her man.
yeah,
And then it's like, that's my woman. She cooks like the best turkey, and
yeah,
and she doesn't take any shit from the kids. And there's
mm,
this like, now we're in this weird space where the woman wants to be more masculine, and the man has to be a bit more feminine. And we're kind of seeing that it's just not working, folks.
mm.
It's not
Well, you're
like,
essentially working from home, and that comes
yeah.
with a whole host of challenges. It's very isolating. It's very familiar. There isn't
Mhm.
any kind of, like you say, coming in and going out where you arrive at the end of the day, and it's more of an entry when you're out working, and it's more of a mystery. Where did he go? When is he coming back? And all of those kind of things create some sort of mystique, which is lacking when you're around each other all the time. It's not great. That's why so many relationships dived in lockdown.
Mm.
It ended so many relationships because people just started working from home and got too familiar and wore sweatpants for 2 years. It's just like, nah, it's not doing anyone any good. And I don't know, other than being extremely intentional, where you go, we're going to do date night once a week and we're going to dress up and we're going to just do this. I don't know how else you create the mystique, and actually become intrigued. Because that actress Charlie Theron, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She said a relationship hinges on intrigue. Once the intrigue is gone, the relationship's gone. And I always
Mm.
thought that that was quite an interesting word, intrigue. And it is the sense of mystique about your partner where you're thinking, what are they up to? What are they thinking? What's going on in there? Like you become intrigued with them.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah, I
that's what
find it.
happens at the
Yeah.
beginning of a
I
relationship. You've got bag loads of intrigue because,
Yeah, totally. It's all new.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's for both sexes. Like I find when Tara, like the first thing that attracted me to Tara, we went out for breakfast the first time with all my band, and there was this woman, and she in the middle of breakfast said, "I got to go to my diving lessons. I'm learning to be a dive instructor," and she got her food to go. So there was big chemistry between us. And a
Mm,
lot of women would have been like, forget the diving. I'm staying here at
mm.
breakfast. Not saying I was all that in a bag of cheese, but it's like that there was
Something
chemistry.
was up.
And I was like, that is so sexy,
Mm,
or so attractive to me that she has something else going on other than me.
mm,
And then you got the other woman that just falls at your feet
mm.
and just says, take it all. It's like, and
Yeah.
so I find like when what's unattractive, and this is hard probably to hear, is when the goals go out the window and like I think it's personal to me, but I've always struggled with even with I remember with Jen, I always struggled with she would dream big and not follow through, and I found it
Mm,
so unattractive.
right.
I find it so attractive when a woman says, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week, and they go hell or high water. It's not, my wife's losing weight and getting in shape. There is that too, but there's also this attractiveness to this follow through and like mission. I think it's like probably a lot of people feel like that. I think that's
Well,
one thing that Tara finds attractive about me is that I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, is I think that would be the case on both sides. When people say what they're going to do, major brownie points get racked up. When someone keeps to what is conscientious and does what they say they're going to do, that's an incredibly attractive trait on both sides. And it's
yeah. I'm going to get up and meditate for half an hour in the morning, and they do it every morning. It's not like, I'm going to get up and cold plunge for 3 months straight, and they do it every, and what starts to lose in my head brownie points is when they don't follow through. And I see that a lot, and I struggle with not letting that get to me.
Yeah, because it comes across as flaky.
But I think both couples, I think the woman hears someone talking about it. It's like, oh, my man so needs to hear this. And then the man hears something. It's like, oh, my woman so needs to, this is how I think. And all we desperately want is like, I just, sometimes I pray, I'm like, I pray someone comes into her life that says how I feel. Cause I can't say that because it's too hurtful, or too prickly.
At the end of the day, it turns out it's got to be you. Like, I hope, that person's me. I've got to say the thing, because that's your pathway to growth. That's inevitably what it ends up being. Is it? There's not going to be some friend or podcast she listens to. It has to come from you, and it sucks.
Yeah,
that's just the way it rolls. Because
I'd rather cold plunge for 10 minutes in minus 10. Be easier.
It's fascinating, though. But I think the avoidant and the attachment style time, it still resonates. Those attachment styles are still relevant. Still something very powerful about them. I've got to pick up my boy.
There, Abs?
Yeah, I've got to do a school run. It almost went without a hitch.
I know.
Now I just need a laptop that doesn't make a noise. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, next time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about psychological abuse.
Yes, that is something I want to talk about, definitely.
Yes. So tune
in. All right,
love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.